Oh, here you are.
Is this us now?
Yes.
It only took me 2 minutes to figure out how to get into the session, so that's a win for me.
That's why we write.
This is why we write and we're not YouTube stars.
Yeah, we're not very good at doing other things.
Let's see, how many people do we have in here? I don't know. Just us two?
31 and growing. It feels
Okay.
a bit like a bet or something, like
Okay.
stock market going up. So let's start.
Yeah, let's get into this. So me and you, Fatima, we've talked about AI and writing for hours and hours, and we've narrowed it down to hopefully 20 minutes of talking, but we kept coming back to certain themes. And me speaking as a content guy who writes blogs and websites and stuff like that, you as an author who has how many? 11 books? 11 books?
I have right now 11 books in Portuguese. 4 of them were also sold to China and 1 to Germany. And I have another book coming up it's at the printer right now. Okay. But that's not how I really define myself. I think all I want in life, all I have been doing in life is to pay my bills with writing. So the books are one stream of revenue and pleasure, but the reality is that to be a writer, you need to be open to write almost like about everything. So whatever falls on my lap, anyone that sends me an email, sends me a message, or anything I find on the internet that says writing, I'm like, yes, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Right? So it can be radio, TV, it can be translation. It doesn't matter.
So you're filling in you're
taking. I think this is also the way of doing right now. I think that if you think that you can just write one type of thing in one type of place.
Right. We have some interference here. But
yeah, let's explain people too also that I'm in Brazil. I'm in the middle of the countryside. So, and you can see even by the light, right, that we are having winter here, but winter here is like, right, today is going to be 32 Celsius degrees. So it's winter, but
it's Ontario, it's 30 degrees, but it's raining outside. But
okay.
So you're saying that as an author right now, you're taking pretty much anything that kind of comes your way. Is that you're open to pretty much any sort of writing gigs right now?
I think all of us need to do this, right? Yeah. Like, of course, you might have boundaries. Like, I don't know if someone.
And we seem to be hung up again. Maybe it's just my end here. Could be Fatima, but let me, while Fatima's frozen in time here, let me sort of focus on the topic that is the name of the session, and which probably some people came here for, and it's becoming an editor in the age of AI. So let me just say a couple of things. Personally, when ChatGPT sort of became mainstream, became more popular, I lost pretty much all of my clients. And, that could just be coincidence, could be bad luck, but I feel like a lot of companies are now turning to AI as a way to maybe save money or, sort of streamline their processes but here's the thing. I think if you're a writer who is doing stuff like what I was doing, which is blog posts, websites, researched articles, I think a lot of that content, especially in Canada and the United States will be going to AI, or the price that they're paying that companies are paying will get lower, because we have to be more open to taking jobs that are paying 5 cents an hour or whatever. Sorry, 5 cents a word instead of charging more. But I think what we should be focusing on as writers is beefing up our editing skills. So, and the reason why I say this is because when a company uses ChatGPT, for example, to generate an article, if they do not have a human editing team or some kind of creative content team, then they're going to generate it, and they may or may not scrutinize what's been produced by the AI. So what I think is going to happen, I just have a spider on my desk here. Sorry, you go away. And what I think is going to happen is that without any human editors or content team present, you just have marketing people, salespeople, perhaps. Sorry, Fatima, I'm just talking about the value of becoming an editor as a content writer, and what I think our value is as a human being is. So I'm saying that. So basically, the companies will generate this AI stuff. They'll put it out on their blogs. They'll put it out on their websites, and they don't necessarily really be able to look at it like an editor would, like a seasoned editor writer, and say this is crap or this is good. So I think you need to sell yourself as an editor who can say, listen, this is this thing that ChatGPT made is dead inside. Okay, it's not going to help your brand. It's full of errors, because even ChatGPT admits that it's not always accurate. So you need someone who can read the final output from this AI over and decide if it's good, decide if it makes sense, decide if if it fits the brand of the company. And I think that the companies who are rushing to AI, who are pumping out all this content using ChatGPT or Google Bard or whatever it is, I think eventually they're gonna step on their own feet, because I think eventually they're gonna put out something that makes no sense, potentially has problematic language, and that's going to be damaging to the business. So
I think.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. I think that what happens is when you think about races, ages, xenophobic, homophobic content, the machine will have a lot of problem to navigate with this. Right here in Brazil right now, you have like the language is changing according to the Black movement. So there are some words there, like today, it was all right to say the word mulatto, like 5-6 years ago. And now today it's absolutely a huge mistake, needs to be careful, needs to be respectful, need to understand this.
Right.
So I don't know how the machine will deal with this. Maybe in the future we'll deal with this, but right now it can't. So I think that's what Jeff is saying, right? Like that suddenly a big brand is writing something there using this material. But if someone is not looking after this material, there is no way. It will bring problems.
And that's a good point, because ChatGPT is only trained up to, I believe, 2021. So between 2021 and 2023, there's been a lot of things that are no longer sort of acceptable in the public sphere. And the ChatGPT doesn't know that. And like you said, like the marketer, the company may not know what's acceptable or not to the audience, especially if they're doing international advertising, international marketing. So they could get themselves in the hot water that way. So having an editor, especially one who's local to the culture, local to the area, the language, is very important, I think, to not only avoid saying something really damaging and stupid, but also to make sure that it's speaking to the local audience in a way that's going to engage them.
Because I want to give an example about this, right? Like there's more than 50 years that I work translating. They send me the material in English and I put in the Brazilian Portuguese. And it's a series of websites that are about dating. So, I can see that suddenly they're going to get, let's say, the terms of use and say, oh, this we're going to do on the machine. But the language of flirting, right? Yeah. It's evolving. You need to be charming. You need to be, what's the word? Flirty.
Yeah.
Right? Like, can the machine be flirty? No, I don't think so. At least not.
It can in a creepy way, maybe.
In a creepy way.
Based on a human training that it has, right? But you're right. Yeah, it's true. You need to have the editor. Another thing is that with the AI, it cannot tell you, right? It cannot tell you if the output could be improved for what you're trying to do. So another advantage and another selling point for editors and even companies thinking about going to AI is that with an editor, you have a back and forth. So you have, emails back and forth or video, whatever, and you can sort of break down what's being said in the piece and tweak certain things, add certain things that you think should be added. That's not something that AI is going to do for you.
Yeah, I think, again, like giving an example about this, let's suppose that the machine, they prompt the machine, the prompt is good. We are not questioning this. And the machine is good. It's come up with something. But let's say that it comes up stressing something like, our main point here is blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But you, as a human being, you can say, wow, I think there's another little way here. Maybe a very different path that we can go for here. Right. So I think this is the selling point for us. But I think also that Jeff is talking too about another thing that it is, I think is the combination, right? We need to make, we need to be friends with these machines. We need to understand them. Yeah. I think it's going to have some sort of interaction between humans and machines and blah, blah, blah. And the other thing too is that you need to step up, right? Like to be one step ahead of the machine, let's say, or even one step back, like bringing back the humanity into it, right?
Yeah, and those are good points. Yeah, and that's another thing is that as an author, somebody who writes books, and what do you think as this is kind of going off the train of thought of becoming an editor primarily, but this is we also talk a lot about how you as an author or anybody as a book author can sort of keep a step ahead, like you said, of the AI. And you talked about maybe building a brand and building your marketing. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, my first thought, before indeed, I want to just close the editor saying, is because editing maybe it's a different language. In my language, the editor might be thought as someone that will do more like the copy desk, right? Like the checking the language itself. Right. I think for the language, the machine is very good in that, right? Like it already gobbled up all the grammar structures and things like that, is doing well on that. So I think this is not the point. You should maybe even after you write, put the thing in the machine and ask, hey, can you please have a look on the grammar for me? Maybe. Right. But what we're talking about editors is editor as a cultural, it's interpreting the moment, the readers, the structure, like 1 week you can talk in a manner about a subject, the next week maybe not. Yeah. Right? Like when you work, for example, with live TV or radio or something, you have the thing even about the ads that are gonna come up after what you said, right? So this human context. But now going back to books or even to other writers or other types of writing, I think that you need to have a brand. But I'm very reluctant about the part of marketing of it because I don't want to be a marketer. I want to be a writer, a full-time writer, right? So how do you deal with this? I'm lucky in a sense because my first book went out in 1998. So, I have people that have been reading myself for a while. But right. You who are starting out, for instance, how do you do this? Oh my goodness. It's a little walk, step by step, paying attention to the word. But what I would say to you is that if you want to really market your book, set up a boundary for it. Let's say that's going to be 1 hour of your day, 2 hours on your schedule. Otherwise, it's endless. And you look about all the platforms and things. The other thing is consistency, right? What is really hard to keep. It looks simple at first, but it's not. Right. But consistency. Keep doing it. Make some effort, to have it always something coming out there. Yeah. And the other thing is the niche. There is no way for you to write about everything for everybody, right? Niche, But I don't know because I don't have a clock. Isn't time for us to open up for people to talk a bit or not?
Oh, we have 10 minutes, so we can just wrap up what we're saying. So you're saying, from your perspective as an author, if you can build a brand, if you can put out authentic stuff regularly, you might have a advantage over an AI author who's pumping out what's the latest thing, travel books or something like that. We have authors who are pumping out, whatever it is, and they're just, they expect an audience. But the thing that differentiates from them is that you already have an audience, for 20, many years, and they recognize you and they recognize your style of writing. So that's for you, right?
But you have the same, right? Like you have the same, your Medium profile, for example, has a consistency, has a clear theme to it, and you're growing, steady and growing.
But for someone, for someone who's just starting out as an author, though, the challenge is
I think that's it. It's from zero, right? Like it, but we always did. We all did. Yeah. What I think is important now is I think it's really, really, really hard to be sure that you're gonna have any success if you just put all your eggs in one basket. Right. I think you need to have 25 baskets eventually. Right? You cannot start with 25 because you're going to be crazy and not manage to have the consistency and the frequency or anything like that. And the other thing is that more than ever, I think that, for example, I grew up as a writer, as a professional writer, writing. It was more impersonal. You were supposed to write describe the world, describe the situations. only if you were doing your own fiction, you could do whatever, right? But nowadays, I think it's the opposite.
Right. More human.
Everything is personal,
Well, that's
right? So when you write, try to have this. Your style needs to be unique. My style, for example, I'm always creating new words, using sound on it. It's fun. That's the idea. And I think that in the other sense, even if you were writing, reporting news, especially local news, that I think is another niche that will survive very well, right? Like bringing up something that is new.
Original
even
content.
if you were doing this, do it with flavor, your unique flavor. Right. Like for instance, I do this collection. I don't know if you can see there. This is Oliver Twist in Portuguese, and I do all the commentaries, and it's like an annotated version. But I do it in a funny manner. So what happens is that these collections, they even have my name come on the cover.
Yeah.
Right? Because people might buy it because they know, okay, her language is simple, her language is funny, I'm gonna go for it.
Right.
So how can you have your own flavor? Right?
Okay, so let's wrap our little thing up. So basically have a like you said, editing it also requires having your own sort of voice, what you can add to the writing. Like you said, you can put commentary into an edited piece, you can add your own voice to a piece. And of course, Medium is going towards this. They recognize that human stories are going to be more important than ever with AI. And, not to plug myself too much, but I just started a Medium publication called Nostalgiacs, which encourages human stories with your own human voice. And
about very human experiences, right?
Yeah, as you can see, I am a human. I can, pretty soon I'll be able to do this with robots, but whatever. But I think that the value of the editor, cultural relevance, making the piece better, encouraging the writer, making sure there's no stupid mistakes. All of these kind of things, are important. But I think we're running out of time, so I think maybe we should open it up maybe if someone has a question.
Absolutely.
I'm going to press this button. I don't know what's going to happen. Announce Q. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna open this up to our many viewers and see if we have a question. So I don't know.
Yeah, but before any question comes, both of us, we can keep talking forever.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, one thing that I think it's quite important is that we need also to understand that that's a big changing coming up, already happening, right? So we are going to be a bit affected, and we'll need to be flexible to find a way, especially for those who are already in the market for that, right? Like I can see some stuff is diminishing, some orders are popping up, and there are more resources. So for instance, I found a machine, a software that helps you, for example, bounce back and forth about plots or even name of characters. I thought it was a quite lame software, to be honest, but you need to be looking around from time to time, not go crazy about it. I would say, again, limit yourself, because this is a bit of, how they say, the rabbit hole, right? Like it's sometimes you get in and you can't get out anymore. So you're not writing. You are looking for all this little possibly helpers. But I think you can play with this, let's say once per month or something like this. Have a look what's going on. Am I being left behind of the things or not? Right? I think anyway, fiction, there is always a place for fiction, but it's already very hard for you to find a big publisher.
Yeah.
Right. Like I was, to be honest, I ended up in a big publishing company because I had a beer with a friend who said to me, "Oh, I have this friend. He just opened his publishing company. I'm publishing a book there with him." And I said, "Oh, can you share his email with me? Can I mention you there?"
Yeah.
And this was the start, right? I also had an experience in the old times where I printed a book of short stories that I had. I went to a bookstore, looked at 5 addresses of publishing companies that I was interested, and I sent to them. And I ended up also publishing a book with one of them. But you know, what are the odds nowadays, right? Like this was 25 years ago. I think nowadays it's quite complicated. It's very complicated to get an agent. And even for myself, if I move a bit out of my brand and I want to write something different, it's almost like I go back to zero. I need to start over again. It's very, very hard.
The
right?
bottom line is if you, like you and me, who have been writing for 20 plus years, and we don't want to necessarily pivot to another industry. We still have the writing. We still have the writing in our blood. We love the write.
Yeah.
So my closing message I'd like to be is, if you're a writer, no matter what kind of writing you're doing, AI is not the end of your career.
No.
It's going to be like other things like photography, where a new technology comes along like Photoshop, and now your job changes from doing photo editing by hand to now learning the skills of the computer. I think what Fatima said a lot earlier, you have to make friends with AI. You can't see it necessarily as an enemy, because it's not going anywhere. It's just going to get more and more powerful. So we have to sort of become pro with that, find our niche within that. I think becoming an editor of AI content is a good option.
But I have a question about this. Are there jobs? Are they looking for this, or this is a need that we'll need to sell?
Yes, I think I'm not sure. I think our session ended. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. It's 11.
I'm sorry if somebody had a question and we didn't see it, but I'm going to move on to the next session, and because I want to see my friend June talk about writing, persuasive writing. So thank you, Fatima, for joining me.
Well, thank you very much. I wish we had time to see the people, but that's good. Good conversation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk
Take
soon.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.